Hello and welcome everyone to our sixth segment of Sister Chat's First Lady Tea Time. Thank you again for joining us, especially since we had so many technical difficulties last week. So we appreciate the fact that you have come back to join us one more time. As always, I have my sisters with me this evening, and we are here to support you. Ladies, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourselves? Anybody?
Hello, everyone. I'm Stacy Holmes. Good to see you all.
Yeah, we missed you, Stacy.
Yes.
And I'm excited about this evening and happy to have you all with. I chimed in.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dana Tipton Waters. I'm so excited to be with you again for the second.
I'm Dawn Comer. Happy to be here again as well. Looking forward to the discussion.
We are happy that you're here. So we're going to kind of go over some of the topics we went over last week to start out our segment this time, just because we had a lot of muting and, stuttering of the video, and the audio went out and everything else. So, what I thought we'd first start with our reality. Every time they do that just cracks me up. They talk about a more serious subject. The over-policing of our black families. And, what other resources do we have so that we don't always have to call the police at the first sign of trouble? So, I wanted to let's first have like an honest discussion about, just some of the ways that we use the police that are improper, and then just talk about some of the ways that we can use, that there are other resources that we can use instead of calling the police every time, there's a first sign of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So Ms. Dawn, why don't we do the positive first? We'll talk about what are some of the other ways that we have other resources that we can use as opposed to calling law enforcement.
Right, definitely. We have, there's a non-emergency number for LAPD. Dina, I'm sorry, I don't have it written down. I don't know where my list went. Is it 1-800-ASK-LAPD?
You told me last week I think it was 877, right?
1-877 ask LAPD.
Yes, 1-877-ASK-LAPD. And then there's also 311. The city has a 311 service for things like trees that have fallen down, dead animals, whatever, things around your residence that may be a problem. There's also an animal services line. But if you call 311, they will patch you through to whatever you need, even if it's like a traffic light. Sometimes there's traffic lights that are out. I'll call 311. They'll patch me through the Department of Transportation, and I'll report an intersection out so that, to prevent accidents. There's also 211 for social and human services, which I think is something that, a lot of people are starting to realize now. Instead of calling 911 for some challenges, it may be better to call 211. And we understand sometimes there may be a long wait time, and so you prefer to call 911, especially if it's an emergency life or death situation. We're not saying do not call 911 for those instances, but we want to make sure you recognize some of the other resources that are out there. Dana, did I miss any?
No, that was, you covered it all. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the 211 covers things like abuse, domestic violence, health crisis. It's a hotline, substance use treatments, and counseling. They can give you reference for that.
Right. And they also have online resources. 311
Yes.
has a mobile app that you can also download to report incidents. You can take a picture, upload it, and file a ticket that way as well.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm so excited because I just used 311 to get my sofa removed.
Yeah.
So my bulky item collection. So I called them, and they came out on our trash day actually, and it was kind of exciting to watch them chew up our old sofa and chair. I kind of cried a little bit though. Was a little. I had a moment. I did have a moment, but you know, it was cool to kind of watch them. But yes, it was fast. It was easy. I could have also done it online, which was really kind of
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I called them when we replaced our dining room table, and just it's nice that we have these additional resources. But I think the only thing I would say is if you decide to call versus using the app, you just need to bring your patience, because it does take a moment to get through. So a few moments actually. So you know, the app might be, you know, if you want to be tech savvy, the app might, but definitely the app's probably a little more efficient.
Yeah.
Well, when you sit on the app, you get some really cool music.
You do.
Cool music while you wait.
I didn't get that when I waited. So
So if you have your tea and some music, you're just fine. See, you can wait.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I did not get the cool music. I did be a nice person, but I did not get some cool music. So I don't know what was up. I don't know what was up from all that. And I think, you know, now that you know, that we've been sharing those resources, I think that hopefully, you know, on the negative side, that we won't have folks calling the police when they're, you know, ticked off at their man, you know, because they think that there's some infidelity going on. So they're going to get, you know, quote unquote back, you know, they're going to quote back at them,
Right.
And, you know, call the police. So, you know, we just need to make sure that, you know, you just take a moment to think of, you know, am I doing the right thing, and what the resources are, kind of just like do that who, what, why, and when. You know, I mean, if it's life and death, of course, call 911, but, you know, it may not be. So, you know, I think we definitely, you know, need to do that.
Absolutely.
So, and I mean, and I hear, you know, and hear, you know, sometimes, you know, pastor will bring me in on some counseling, and people just have a very different thought process of and of what they think should be used as emergency numbers. So hopefully that now that we've shared that information, that that'll, you know, that'll change some of that, you know, some of that thinking.
Yeah. So if you're not sure, if it's really an emergency, start with 211.
Right. Or the 877 that ask LAPD.
Or the 877 ask. Either one of those. If you're not quite sure, start there first.
Yeah, I definitely think it's good. So let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we have. Do you think that Black women face different challenges than men? Versus, and this could be in a work environment as well as in a social environment. So I thought maybe we'll take the work environment first, since we are all working ladies.
I think so. I've experienced challenges where I know that I have to, if I'm passionate about a topic, I know that I have to remain calm, or else I may be seen as the angry Black woman in the room. I'm not sure I think Black men probably have that same challenge as well, but I think just even between men and women, men can be a little bit more boastful or emotional or forthright with the way they speak than women. And so I have felt that before, where I've kind of had to pull back. Or if I haven't pulled back, then there's just a different reaction to me.
Absolutely. I think the percentage overall in the workplace, especially in the management area, you know, for women is very low. You know, it's very dominant by men. So I think it's still a work in progress for us. We're doing better, but definitely it's still considered a man's world, as they say.
Right.
I agree with you totally. However, I didn't really think about this or talking about the topic, because the field that I work in, it's a lot of women. So there's a lot of women work in the field of education, a lot of men. So it's male dominant. And so I started thinking about why is that the case? And to me, it seems like our roles are defined by our positions. So we're like the nurturers and the you know, like we reach out to people and we comfort and we support, whereas the man is more of like the enforcer. And so that's kind of how it's set up in our field, where it's still looked at as if the woman cannot be all that we are, because we are very powerful, we are very nurturing, we are very supportive, but we still also are enforcers. We're able to manage, we're able to guide, and we're able to lead as well. So you know, it feels kind of like it's a gender definition, more so that society has, that keeps us from being in those positions of power.
Right. I have a little bit of a different take on that. We have where I work, we have case managers as well, and I have one case manager I'm thinking about who is a brother, and he's over 6 feet tall, and he really has to monitor his speech and his body language so he's not seen as quote unquote intimidating to some of our, you know, non-Black either coworkers or some of the folks that he has to engage with, especially when it is a situation where there could be some conflict or there's a difference of opinion and you're still trying to, you know, figure out how you can get to that middle road as well. And I think also like what Dawn, I agree with Dawn was saying about how you can't be emotional. And I definitely, like for me, I really have to be careful about my intensity. Now, I know you're just shocked that, you know, I can be very intense. So I really have to watch that. I know it's a shocker, but I really have to watch that because you know, come off as, you know, oh, she's scary. And then she's, you know, then it goes from scary to I'm angry. And, you know, which, you know, how, you know, you go from 0 to 60 without thinking about, oh, maybe she's just very passionate about whatever, you know, that particular topic is, you know, at that time. But you don't really, you know, you don't really get that opportunity that type of thought process is applied to you. You know, when you're engaging with other folks.
Right. So. And I think it goes back, you know, we take it all the way back to our days of slavery. You know, we weren't even recognized as human beings, period. So, you know, I think coming from that, the perception was, you know, we had to be more vocal. We speak more with our hands. We want to be heard. We want to be recognized, you know, and that's what we had to do. We had to fight our way through, you know, and it's just our defense mechanism because we became very defensive people way back then, you know. So now to fight your way through the corporate world, yeah, like you said, Kinette, I agree with you. You know, I got to catch myself and try to, you know, bring it down a notch and recognize, you know, wait a minute, I gotta, because they're going to perceive me in one way when I'm really just very passionate, just trying to get my little point across. But I think it goes back.
What happens is you're not taken seriously. You're at the point that you tried to make, you know, goes by the wayside, you know, and you know, you're perceived to have lost your credibility.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
It's a balancing act. It's a balance. Yeah. I'm tired of balancing.
It definitely is.
So
definitely.
I think that
sometimes we get tired a lot.
Stacey, you're breaking up just a little.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything. I just said we get tired a lot. I did mention that we get tired a lot. We're often tired. Hi, Pastor.
Yes.
But it's like
I have a little background.
You know, yeah. That's nice background, a nice virtual background you have. It's a live one.
Right.
But
Yeah, my virtual
so
back.
I was thinking, yes. I was thinking too about passion as something other than what it really is.
Okay.
So, and going back to what Dana was saying about talking with our hands, we also talk with our heads and our necks, and it's a this, that, and this.
Yeah.
And when we get passionate, we don't even realize that we're, you know, doing that. And it gets misconceived a lot. It doesn't get taken as passion. It gets taken as you're angry, you're upset. But I just want to be heard, and I want to get my point across.
Right. I mean, and the other thing is that you're also considered quote unquote ghetto, you know, if you're displaying those types of actions, you know, whether you know it's whether you know you or not, you know, you might it's I'll get off my soapbox, but
but it's unfortunate because we're not the only culture that's demonstrative. You know, there are other cultures that speak with their hands, and you know, the voice may escalate when there's a topic that they're really into. So it's unfortunate because we're not the only culture that does that, but there's a bad stigma out there.
Right. Yeah, there definitely is a different perception of us versus, you know, versus other cultures.
Well, that's because a lot of people are intimidated by us. Just our presence in a room. We walk into a room and we have a presence, and it just happens. It's just so. We're magical in every sense of you know, in every sense of definition. We are magical. We're magical people, and we walk into a room and we just command we have a certain kind of presence. And some people especially people who aren't like us can't handle.
Oh, you kind of went out there to the last. Can you want to repeat your last comment, because you kind of went out there a little bit?
Well, you know, I am getting a little bit older. I can't remember everything that I say.
We'll leave it at that, and just know that, we'll just leave it at that we are all magical. So we'll just leave it at that. Another thing I wanted to for us to talk about was Black women and justice. Do we think that there's a difference in gender, like within these movements?
I think those who are leading the movements are bringing a voice. I think there has been, you know, historically less of a calling her name versus his name, but I really honor those who are driving the movements, who are making sure that all names are said, who have, you know, either been senselessly murdered or any other thing that has come to them. But yeah, I think, you know, women tend to take a back seat, unfortunately, in some of these vocal arenas.
Right, absolutely.
Or the name, not that women take a back seat. Women are definitely vocal, but I mean, our names being mentioned of women victimized.
Right, and I think that happens no matter what the circumstances.
Right. Yeah, because again, like I said before, it's, you know, it's been more like the Black man in America, and the focus has been on them, and all the injustice that's taken place in the past has been kind of scooped under the rug on the female side. But I'm happy and proud that right now, thanks to a lot of women up in America, they're now bringing the focus forward, you know, regarding the injustice of women. So I'm really proud about that.
Do you guys remember maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, Chris Rock or D.L. Hughley? I can't remember like which one of those, but which one of those came and they went, I can't remember, I think it was D.L. Hughley. I think it was him. He went around and he, you know how like you see the Greenpeace people or people out in the corner like with or at the grocery store like with the petitions. Well, he actually had was asking people to sign a petition for an endangered species. And when he started, they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll sign the petition." And then they were like, "Oh well, what is this for? What are we supporting?" And he's like, "The black man in America." And they were just like, they were, people were shocked. People walked away. They didn't know what to say. Their whole body, their whole affect of their body changed. They just stiffened up and walked away, or didn't know really how to react to that. And a couple of folks that did that, he was able to bring some statistics of why he went through. There is a criteria that is that you go through like a list of questions, checklist of what defines an endangered species, and the black man fit under there. And this was what I think those are the last like 3 to 4 years he did this. And then first I was like, oh haha, was he doing this as just comedy, just a different type. But when he started going over what the criteria was and I was Googling it just then it just broke my heart. Black men did are an endangered species, and the gist of what he was doing was trying to get them put on an endangered species list, like you could like any animal.
Wow. So, like I said, we weren't being recognized as human beings. No, we had to fight for that.
Right, and he was saying, a human being, that. Our black men in America, we're dying at an alarm. We're being killed, not we're dying, but we're being killed at an alarming rate. And that is what, he was trying to bring to the forefront that was happening. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I think, and then I was looking at some of the comments, and Reverend Ronia was just saying, I'm tired and I'm angry. And, we are tired and angry, but we just can't act like it. We, unfortunately have to kind of temper that down and, keep moving.
I think I think it's time to show what we feel. I think we've been holding it in for so long and it's not healthy. And I do like that I'm hearing a lot of the younger generation talking about still being out on the front lines, but also taking care of self. And I think taking care of self is so important right now because we have been suppressing it for so long. Like I go through days where I'm good, and then there are days I'm extremely sad and angry, but yet I'm encouraged because I know that God has us. And I don't just say that, as a cliche statement, but he does have us, and he brought all of this together at this time for a reason. This is a time to make a change. The number of people that we see who are participating in protests right now, we have to keep our foot on the gas.
Right.
Make sure it's not a moment in time, but a moment in which we really continue to push for change. But I'm at a point now where it's like I'm not suppressing it anymore.
Right.
I hear what you're saying, and maybe suppress or tamper wasn't the appropriate word choice, but I don't always say I'm good all the time. Right. But when I am not good, I am saying that I'm not good.
Yes.
And if I am angry, I'm like, I'm unsettled. My spirit's unsettled. I'm upset. I am angry today. but I am saying it in a way that invites, especially if a coworker asks me, that invites that dialogue.
Right.
Because, there are, a great number of folks that don't really understand why why we as Black people are feeling the way that we feel.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
Right.
when I'm not, when I am feeling that way, I just have to be very careful about my word choices, because I want to make sure that I am not missing an opportunity if someone is open and wants to hear why, or wants to try to understand from a different perspective, that I don't close that door.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's okay to not
Yeah.
be okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and
Great.
that's the other thing, and it's okay not to be okay. And then if you're not okay, you need to be reaching out to someone,
Mm-hmm.
as
Absolutely.
well, someone within your village, that you
Mm-hmm.
can reach out for. And I mean, and sometimes I'll just get a text. I'm like, oh, it's one of those days. And then someone will text me back, hey, do you need to talk? I can step out. Or I'm like, no, I just, I'll be all right. I just needed to, hear some words, words of encouragement,
Right.
and then I'm also like paying more attention. If someone crosses my mind, I try to make sure I call them within that 24 hours instead of like, putting it off. I've started to keep on my desk a little post-it if folks come across my mind, because, someone will come across your mind, but when, you're doing 50, 12 other things at once, that thought is gone by the time at the end of the day. So
Right.
I try to now at least write it down so I can call that person, within that 24 hours, go, hey, I was just thinking about you, or, send them a text or something, and a lot of time it's a person that God has put on my heart that needed to hear from me for whatever reason.
Right.
Well, I haven't heard from you in forever, so I guess I don't come across your mind ever. My feelings are kind of hurt. I'm feeling some kind of way.
Did you just say that?
Yes, I said it. I
Okay,
hear from you every 2 weeks.
what?
Now I'm getting jealous.
I can't say that.
See?
Jesus, convict her heart, because I have texted her. I'm sorry, my last few texts have been a bit about your children, my niece and nephew.
Right.
I
Okay.
have reached out.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
But I feel like there's
Little
some, yes, she's here somewhere. I feel like, when is it going to be our turn to rest? Like we're always fighting, and like always treading water, and treading water gets real tiresome.
Right.
And when is it going to be our turn to rest? And that's kind of where I go to sometimes in my head. Like, I just want to rest. I don't want to have to explain it to anyone. I don't want to have to, like justify why me. I don't want to have to, talk about why I don't wash my hair every day. I don't want to do those kinds of things today. I just want to exist and be one of God's children who's spreading good and joy on this planet. And that's it. And I want to coexist with everybody on this planet. I don't want to be, or defend who I am right now. I just want to rest.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm looking at I'm looking at the comments, and a lot of folks are agreeing with you. They're just tired, and they, that they, and someone, I think Ashanti said, like, how women have the most problems when it comes to social justice, and folks are just saying that they're just tired, and they're agreeing with what we're saying. But I think it's like I think that's when, like Dawn was saying, the self-care comes in, and you have to step back a minute, and you have to balance that from like not wanting to close the door on an opportunity to, like, I just I don't want to talk to nobody right now. Not about I got my hair braided, or what the process was. Sometimes you just are not in that space to educate folks, and I think we need to listen which I know I'm guilty of, not listening to that voice that tells me, okay, you just need to shut it down for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because
it.
as women, we just go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our nature too. It's one of our superpowers. You know, that's why it's so hard to shut it down. You can't shut down your superpower.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's true. Absolutely. I have a lot of people are coming to me in my office now. I'm a part of what they call a peer support program. And we're basically a listening ear. We can't give no advice, just a listening ear. And a lot of people are, they're saying the same thing you're saying, they're tired of situations of the workplace, the fact we still have to deal with the public, and they're scared, they're nervous, their children are at home, but they have to come to work. Just a lot of things. And then when they get home from work, they turn on the TV and they got to see all that's going on out in the world and in the streets and the destruction and all. We get why we're doing it, but just tired, of coming home to it every single day. I just wanted to tell you, I'm on YouTube, and Sister Eula said, people are finally listening to Black voices. We have been saying the same thing for years, decades. And Sister Annette said, I agree with you, Dawn. I grew up in the South and I've seen and experienced more than you know.
Yeah, I agree. I've been just thinking about our music lately and our movies and how we have been telling the stories. The stories are there. Like I didn't see Just Mercy when it came out in the fall. I happened to watch it. I think it was last weekend. And it's one of those things where sometimes I didn't want to watch things over the weekend because I knew I had to go back to work.
Right.
And I didn't have to fix my face.
Right.
But honestly, I watched Just Mercy and I watched Marshall, and I was encouraged because it just tells stories of how resilient we are. The attorney, Brian Stevenson, that Just Mercy was about, some friends were recently texting and they were saying that they had watched his TED Talk and very interested in his statement that the opposite of poverty is justice. And I didn't know who they were talking about at the time, and I was going to watch the TED Talk, and then I happened to watch the movie, and at the end of the movie I heard that line. I was like, okay, connecting the dots. And then our Sunday school lesson this past Sunday was about wisdom, and it said if we love God and love wisdom, we can find solutions to meeting the pressing challenges and needs of our communities. We can have both justice and wealth if we have the wisdom and willingness to pursue them God's way. And to me, that spoke directly to his statement about the opposite of poverty is justice. So I felt encouraged, by watching those two movies, and then watching Marshall, which was about Thurgood Marshall, and just what he did during the time of the civil rights and being the one attorney for the NAACP, but then how he built an army of attorneys. So we are a resilient people, and it's things like that that keep me encouraged and remind me that we've told our stories. And so if the people who love R&B, soul, jazz, all of that really listen to the lyrics, they would hear the struggle.
Right. I think you're right. Just some of the I think you're absolutely right, Don. You made some great points. I think some of our, I think Reverend Ronia said being strong is overrated. And I think Reverend Deshaun Taylor, who was also a guest on Sister Talk, says we have been reared to go all the time. We have not been able to turn off in a healthy way.
Right.
I think that is the Stacey was saying. That is our ongoing struggle to make sure that we're able to turn it off. And I think we just have we have to depend on our village to help us, because it's and I think sometimes, I can only speak for myself, but sometimes if you keep going and going and going, then you don't have to think about all of these injustices and all of the inequalities of the world.
Right.
It was really helpful about what Sister Dawn said about that the opposite of poverty, what is it? Say it again. The justice.
The opposite of poverty is justice.
Which is true, because it's hard for you to think about trying to help someone else and fight for your rights if you don't have a house, if you are unhoused.
Right.
And because I work for an affordable housing developer, and just having, and listening to our tenants, when we do our tenant stories about how once they were able to, be housed, they wanted to go help their friends, the people that they were living with on the street, get housing. And they also wanted to, give back and help for those that are having difficulty, with the transition from living on the street to being housed. And, if you have that, you are able to help other people with, help other people with justice,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. But I think, I have someone that I'm working with now that does a lot of self-care. So she's going to be a guest on one of our future segments, just about how, self-care. She's a sister. She does a little bit of everything, and she's willing to go on our show. So I'll have more information at the next Sister Chat in 2 weeks about her. But yeah, so she does a lot about self-care, and so she's agreed to be a guest sister on our show.
That's great.
That's good.
Because I think especially in this date and time, we need that. I know I'm definitely experiencing more stress because things are opening up and people are relaxing.
Right.
Not thinking about what, they're not thinking about what the impacts are. They're thinking that, what are they saying? The Rona is gone is one hashtag I've seen. And I'm just like, it's so far away. I mean, my glasses broke. And so I had to go, I've been waiting to drop them off since March. And I went in and I talked to the person that worked at where I glasses, and he said he thought he was still agitated. He's agitated because he had to wear a mask. And I mean, and this guy's so nice and so mellow, but he was agitated because he had to wear a mask. He felt that everything with the virus was overrated and it was blown out of proportion. And, talked about how when he was 10, he had the Hong Kong flu, and, not that many people, same amount of people died, and, spouting statistics and everything. And, and I said, I think that I said, have you known anyone who has, experienced, who has been infected, and what their outcome or what their journey was to try to fight their way back to health? And he said, no. So at that point, I just said, okay. And I, dropped off my broken glasses and picked up my other pair of broken glasses that they fixed. And I just, the other thing, which I was talking to a very wise person, my husband, Pastor John EKG III, but don't know if I said that, that he said that it is not our responsibility to educate everyone.
Right.
And it's hard because you want to say, no, just, I know your feelings are your feelings, but, listen to someone who has some lived experience and, has had, one of my coworkers that came down, was infected. He was out of work for over a month, and he and his best friend were, both came down with COVID at the same time. His best friend is dead.
Wow.
They're in their 30s, and he was gone in less than 2 weeks. Wow. And so, and then listening to, him on the phone, just being, because we would call and check on him and, talk about how he doesn't want to die. It was very traumatic, and, it's so hard not to want to just like shake people, but
right.
I just have to remember, it's not our responsibility to educate everyone. And, so I just pray for those that aren't educated and try not to be upset, because I still needed them to fix my glasses. But hey, listen, I need my glasses fixed so I can see. But just it's difficult. But you just have to remember it's not a responsibility, because I think what happens I know for me, when I take that on, I feel like that it's the world against me, and it's not, but you feel like that everyone you're coming in contact with shares an opinion that is not factual and really does not have any basis other than their own thought process. So, it's a little different.
And it comes down to empathy.
Yes.
Yes.
Someone can have, I mean, okay, you have not personally experienced someone who has died from the virus, but there are plenty of people who have. And where's your empathy for what is happening?
Right.
Right. And I think you really got to have that discerning spirit, because so many people are reading so many things and hearing so many different things, and believing this, not believing that. You really need to have that discerning spirit to know what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
Right.
And I think you're right, Sister Dana, because when we had to close our office down and go through deep cleaning, one day I just basically did not hardly do anything. I basically sat there and watched TV, and they had I can't remember what it was, but they had advertisements for this news station that basically said, if you want to hear the real news, go to this station. Everything else was fake news.
Right. I see. Yeah.
So of course, I had to go to look at
right. To hear
the
real news, right?
Right, to get the real news. And it was just amazing that the fiction that was out there, I just, I could only tolerate like 15 minutes, because I was just like, this is gonna rot my brain. I can't even, listen to this kind of stuff.
I think we just need to turn the TV off and sit still, pray, and meditate. Just turn the TV off.
The other thing is, like, listen to music. We don't always have to. And I am one that listens to NPR, constantly, and I can't do that anymore. It's just too.
I think you should have listening to the crosswords, but
Stacey, you froze. Did you say do crosswords?
I mean, I feel like, I said not unless you're listening to the crosswords on NPR, but
the Puzzle Master.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Will the Puzzle Master. I'm not good with the puzzles, but yeah.
But it's really cool. But I was saying you have to pick your source, your reliable source, and stick to that source. And everything else, for me, I don't even engage in. They start on it, I turn it off. I'm like, I have my reliable source. I listen to my reliable source. I like facts. I don't want to hear your stories. I don't want to hear anything based on your emotions. Just give me the facts. And I pick the source that I feel is.
You're frozen, Stacey. Okay.
Give me the facts, and we just leave it there. Was I cute when I was frozen?
Yes, you're cute.
Frozen, and you're still cute.
Lady, Sister Sylvia wants to know, how do you deal with people's ignorance?
That's all that matters.
Oh, gee. Who wants to? I have some opinions, but who else would like to take that one?
I probably don't do it right.
You get like real kind of sister girlish on them, like, what?
I think we're gonna talk about that later on in the segment.
Well, I don't even know if we're gonna get to that. We have not even got through half of our topics tonight. It's already like we only have about another 12 minutes. Just some of the comments. Sister Felicia writes, says her anxiety is so high, but have to try daily to do some kind of timeout. And Sister Yvonne Walker says empathy, more people need to have it. And Reverend Rania Crockett Williams said on Facebook that the world is full of cool-aiders.
Yeah. Yes.
But the thing about empathy, we were talking about empathy with respect to the coronavirus and anyone who's suffering with the virus. But empathy is also needed, you know, if we think back to our discussion about justice and about what African Americans have experienced here in the US and what Black people experience worldwide, you know. It's like it's a lack of empathy that has allowed this to happen for so long.
Yeah.
Without more people saying, oh, this is wrong. I think, Dana, you said, you know, there are things that are right and there are things that are wrong.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that have been wrong.
Right.
That people have either just thought, oh, they went away.
Right.
Or, you know, just haven't had to deal with personally. So they haven't addressed it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. I think, do you guys remember that movie? I think it was a John Grisham movie where this little girl, 4 men kidnapped her on the side of the road and she was sexually abused, and the father killed all 4 of them, or one of them, I can't remember. I think it was Samuel L. Jackson was the father. And during the court, I think the closing statements, the attorney asked everyone to close their eyes and picture that to be a white child. And I think that I know that's an extreme example, but I think that that's what we have to do. And it's just like, you know, what it says in the Bible, you know, we have to treat the others, you know, as we would treat ourselves.
Right.
You know? And we have to remove that, you know, that oneness, you know, that a lot of us, you know, suffer from.
Yeah.
But then we've got probably about another 10 minutes. In our last 10 minutes, maybe we could get into a quick conversation, which I think we're gonna have to carry over to the next show, which is just like, how do we preserve our cultural history from an equitable standpoint? You know, like to tell both sides of the story. You know, like the changing of the name of Aunt Jemima. You know, how does that play into changing the name? Does it erase the history of Aunt Jemima, who, you know, worked, you know, for, you know, I think what, 20 or 30 years? I don't have the stats. Right. You know, work for, and, you know, and, you know, did honest work. Scarf is gone. She's wearing curls now. Her hair is
straight.
Is straighter. Yes, her hair is processed or straightened. We don't know what the
She got about CJ on it.
Yes, he had a little that CJ Walker magic. So, you know, does that where is the line of when you're trying to update a brand that originally did, you know, yes, the picture that was on there was not what it should be, but, you know, where's that line? If you were the person that had to make that decision, what would you say?
Well, I would like to know how many of us were involved in making that decision, and what was their mindset, and did they perhaps think that it would have the effect that it is having when they made that decision? Because now, you know, it's all kinds of things. It's not just Aunt Jemima, it's also statues and monuments. And
singing groups, also singing groups too.
Singing groups like the Dixie Chicks, Drop the Dixie.
Lady
right?
Yeah.
NASCAR. It's blown up into way more than just sitting at the table and saying, I really think we need to look at, you know, our branding. And me, I would like to know.
You're frozen, beautiful.
I would like to know, oh goodness, it's not my night. Here, is that better? I would like to know their, okay. I would like to know.
Howard, Stacy, that's why.
You know, it's all this. But I would just like to know what their thought process was at the time of making this decision, because we're operating a lot now based on our emotions and what's going on in the environment. but that might not have even been the intent, you know?
Mhm.
But that's how it's being perceived because of what's happening right now.
Right. When we're so reactionary, we miss the opportunity for the conversation,
Right.
conversation about inclusion in those discussions, the conversation about telling both stories. Maybe it's clear now that not everyone has the same American story.
Right.
And I know when we were talking earlier, Stacey, and we were talking about the statues that are being torn down, is that the right decision to tear them all down, or is it the better decision to add other inclusive statues,
Right.
Absolutely.
so that the entire story can be told?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to sanitize everyone's history.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because I think we find ourselves, if we're doing that, I think we're doing the same thing that was done to us. And I was just having a conversation last night with someone about, you know, why instead of tearing it down, put a statue from the other side of that same history,
Right.
and then
Add
you
more.
modify that plaque that says,
Mhm.
you know, that tells a more inclusive story.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree. Let's keep the story going. Build more statues. Add to it.
Right, because I think, you know, then if we do that, we're gonna repeat. They said the history, we're not gonna learn from our history. We're just
But
gonna
we're not
make mistakes.
we're not
Because
going
it
to
took
have any
place.
history.
It
Right.
is our history. Bottom line, you tearing
It
it
is
down
what it
because what? It happened. It is our history. Let's just
Yep.
add on what happened after that.
Right.
Let's tell the story.
Right.
And then it also brings about conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk up to a piece, and being an educator, we're always finding opportunities to help our children understand better who they are and their history.
Right.
But we can't do that if we don't have any avenues to do that with. You
If we
know,
don't have a
if
point of
everything is right, there's no point of reference. And everything was just happy-go-lucky and it's always been great. And
Right.
that's not the truth.
Yeah, and then speaking of truth, Stacey, I was just thinking, tell the truth about the statues that are there.
Right.
That
Right.
part.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah,
the sanitary
absolutely.
on that
I
little
personally
plaque.
hope that you're right. I personally hope that I know me myself coming up and during my time, I didn't learn about Black history till I got in college because it wasn't taught in the school. It wasn't in the school system. We heard about Columbus and all of that. So I really hope after all of this, I don't know what's going on now in the schools, but I hope now our history will be placed in the schools as early as elementary school on up. Our kids need to learn those type of.
Right.
Well, my children were very fortunate to be products of Baldwin Hills Elementary Pilot and Gifted High Ability Magnet, where it is a culturally responsive education, and all they know is how to be a strong, Black, confident citizen. That's our whole curriculum is based on educating a Black child, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Yes. So,
I didn't go
shout
to
out to Baldwin Hills.
I didn't go to Allensworth till I got in college. I was like, what is Allensworth?
And it's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner, right?
2.5 hours and you're there and you get.
And there's so much history there. I was just so excited. And I'm just like, oh, the kids need to know.
Well, I mean, it's like, there's more than Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, which,
right.
which maybe quote unquote standard, Black people, that you learned about. I mean, I'm doing this Black Girl Trek, this boot camp, and I was like, there's so many amazing women that I didn't even know existed. And I was like you, Dana, Black history was something I learned about when I was in college.
Yes.
And that's what we try to do with the museum every year.
And we love it. It's so well done. We thank you for that. I learned so much when I go downstairs to that museum.
Yeah, that museum is that is just amazing. That is just
it
is a gift that you have, and not only we enjoy it, I think the kids really enjoy it too.
Right.
They do.
Yeah.
This year was really special.
I love to hear the speeches.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to tell all of our stories. We have
right.
All of it.
rich history.
Definitely. And it just makes our children more confident in who they are as individuals when we tell their story,
Yeah.
when they can relate, when they see, you know, people that look like them have done great things.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times in the name of justice.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Reverend Juanita says tear them down and still tell the truth.
I know she does.
Tear them all down.
I'm not
Yes,
surprised.
says tell the truth as it came to be. But and then Sister Ronell says, I agree that we should keep the statues up and add a plaque to this person's contribution to slavery.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think we also need, statues with success stories.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, we shouldn't have to go all the way to Washington to go to as well, but not like the one in DC. We shouldn't have to go.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, ladies, we have about 1 minute. Anybody have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share before we we get off for the next 2 weeks? We have our positive word, our word of positivity for this week. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or comments that they would like to share?
I do.
Okay.
I just want to comment on all of us just rocking our natural hair tonight.
Magic in our truest form.
Absolutely. And one of the things we were going to talk about this evening was the Crown Act, and just being able to sit here and be comfortable and present with our natural hair is truly a blessing. And just, I just feel good about being able to present my natural self to you all this evening.
Amen.
Right.
Definitely. Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
I know, Sister Dana, you were going to share a book. Can you still share the book?
Okay, do we have time? I wasn't sure if we had time.
Yes.
Some of you may have heard of Adrienne Bankert. She's the ABC News correspondent. She just came out with a new book. It's called Your Hidden Superpower: The Kindness That Makes You Unbeatable at Work and Connects You with Anyone. And she basically talks about the impact that kindness has on others and how powerful it can be. One of the things she said, for example, kindness helps a colleague talk about something bothering them before they blow up in anger on the job and tarnish their whole career. This may help you, Sylvia. Some people are blatantly disrespectful or say things that are completely inappropriate. The correct response is not one size fits all, but as we practice kindness, we learn to be sensitive to when it is right to speak and when it is right to stay quiet. As you follow warm impulses, you will develop an ability to be more intuitive in even challenging situations. So I think it's a very good book. I ordered the book. I'm going to get that book. And I think Kinette, you had read the forward on it. And I didn't get that.
I am ordering it as well. And our time is just about up. So I want to talk. I just want to say our word of positivity this week, as a segue, as what Sister Dana was talking about, is kindness. So we want to make sure that we are practicing kindness.
Yes.
For all that we come in contact with, those not so nice. The easy part is the nice folks, but let's be kind and to the not so nice folks, and also pray for them.
Right.
Because we never know what, we all wear a mask, and we never know what that, where that ugliness is coming from. So, we may just need to step back, and our kindness will be saying a word of prayer for them.
Yeah, and be sure and have that discerning spirit and just pray for the right words.
Yeah.
And faith over fear.
We have to say that one more time. Faith
over
fear.
All right, everyone. Be encouraged, encourage love. We ask God to bless every one of you, and we will see you in 2 weeks. God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.